Mr. Skelly, can you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces and for our first responders. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I got clarity, please, if you will come down, sir.
Jeffrey Friday, 288 Camp Road in Milford. Generally, when I come here, I complain and groan and moan about the Board of Education, but tonight I'm going to talk about something totally different. I'm going to talk about criticism. Knowing what to do is easy when you don't have to do it. One of the interesting and aggravating phenomena of our time is the vocal critic with all the answers when they want to step in and try to ruffle feathers with a system that is now working. They always seem to know the way to go when they don't have to go themselves, but are eager to criticize efforts that are in place. They are the expert pontification of every conceivable issue. Free from having to follow through on decisions, they also feel free to be critical of those who must bear the responsibility of following through on past failures. What a difference between the players of a field that are accomplishing neglected past efforts and the one who sit idly by as spectators in the scheme of things. They are the quarterback who never makes a mistake in their eyes. Of course, this isn't to say that dissent is wrong. Dissent is the stuff democracy is made of. But what about the dissenter's spirit? That's the thing. Are they really happy with themselves, or are they always going to reach out to try and be accepted because they know not that they know, so they are lost in a forest of confusion? This is the issue they perceive when the roads of the town are in question. We have 213 miles of roads in this town to maintain, and that is exactly what the administration has been doing for the past 2 years. Prior to this, past administrations, and I highlight administrations because there's more than one, have let us down, and none is more evident than the 2 years the Democratic Party controlled the town council. The DPW had $2.2 million in their budget for maintenance and repair of roads, and both years the $2.2 million was scratched by the controlling party, so the DPW was $4.4 million in the hole, and the roads continued to degrade. Now the town council and DPW are working together, and the roads have been graded from A to F, and they are moving forward now with tax dollars that are bonded and costing the taxpayers more, because in the past, refusal or not enough given has created the situation we have today. By both parties in the past, but more evident in the budgets presented to the TC while the democratically controlled town council was set in place. If one wants to complain about road conditions, then take a ride down River Road or across Wellsville Avenue and then compare those roads to Chernisky Road and tell me which one would get first preferential treatment. When one sits and complains without any obvious effort to compare and see how the DPW and town has their program set up, then they need not complain. There's a biblical verse that says mountains about the situation, and I'm going to share it as the last part of my message to you. Why do you notice a little piece of dust in your friend's eye, but you don't notice the big piece of wood in your own eye? When one finally decides to jump on board and help keep the dust in one's eye out, then they have the piece of wood removed from their eyes, and they can see much better and help to plan much better for all of our future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Winter, please.
Good evening. Jeff Winter, 22 Morey Road. I'd like to talk a little bit about ethics this evening. Both ethics that are, shall we say, written in code, and then those that are just part of our day-to-day existence as part of being a society. In terms of the code, one thing that we have here, and I don't know, Randy, is that the actual charter?
Yeah.
It is. If you could turn to Chapter 6B, Section 3, it actually talks about the establishment of the commission for the town of Milford's ethics, and it specifically talks about alternates. The commission shall include 3 alternates appointed in accord with the provisions of Section 106 of the Charter. No alternate may be a member of the same political party as another alternate. Alternates shall be appointed for a term of 3 years, etc., etc. At the outset of any meeting, also, alternates as well as full members, no member or alternate may serve as a town official, as defined herein, in any capacity other than such service on the commission. Now, what does that mean about an official, for those of you who haven't read it? Officials shall include all persons holding elected or appointed offices of the town or of its agencies, whether paid or unpaid, and shall include all full-time and part-time paid employees of the town or its agencies. So basically, your most recent appointment of an alternate to the Ethics Commission was essentially unethical because it violated both the charter in 2 ways. First of all, it violated it because you're not supposed to have more than 1 member of the party as an alternate. I see you're nodding your head. And also, you appointed an official. Now, I guess the question is, as all of you were here, did no one bother to read that section beforehand? We did have charter revision recently, within the last 2 years. There were 2 people here that spoke up about that at the last meeting, but no one cared. So the question is, do you read it? Do you look for this? Or do you just say, I can appoint whoever I want? So it appears that maybe you've had a change of heart on that. And I say that just simply by some of the facial expressions around. But the other part of ethics involves a code that we try to live by, especially as a town and as neighbors. 2.5 years ago, the chairman of the Ethics Commission stood where I'm standing and complained about the Democratic mayor appointing a Republican to the Economic Development Commission because that individual had not been run by the Republican Town Committee. Now, mind you, that chairman is also the chairman of the Republican Town Committee. Yet, that one person, that's one person, still was appointed and remains on that commission and the corporation and remains a Republican to this day. You have not heard that you have not appointed the Democrats that our chairperson has put names forward to you. Granted, it is your prerogative. But as the chairman of the Ethics Committee said that evening, that it has been part of the tradition of this town that parties can send names forward, and generally, in the past, they have been approved. When you continue to ignore, shall we say, civility, pulling together, you have to question why did you violate the charter twice in one fell swoop, but also just the general values of decency, civility, and as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mr. Mayor, that's the end of the list.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to move on to Mayor's remarks. First, congratulations on the Safari Collectives on their move to 57 Bank Street. We wish them much success. I went to their grand opening, and it was good to see their expansion and some of the wonderful new items they have in their store, and I wish them much success. Also, congratulations to the Reese Learning Center on their expansion with their Reese Learning Center classroom, which is located at 28 Railroad Street. So I wish Jessica and her team much success as well. Congratulations to April I for winning the Spring Summer 2020 Park and Rec brochure contest. She's the winner. Did a great job, and you'll see that when you do get your Park and Rec brochure, the wonderful job that she did. And also congratulations or thank you to all the other kids that put in their wonderful art for the brochure. Congratulations to Michael John Cavallero. He's been on the Conservation Commission for many, many years and has done wonderful things for our town. Knows the history of New Milford like the back of his hand, and we gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award. So thank you to Michael John. Congratulations to the Milford Barracudas swim team for their annual swimathon that helps raise funds for that program. That helps pay for the cost of using Canterbury Pool. So congratulations to them on that. Congratulations to our New Milford High School wrestling team for winning the Stafford Wrestling Tournament this past weekend. Great job to them. And congratulations to Jason Gombolensky for winning the 1,000 meter SWC championships in track and field. Congratulations to the Green Wave Sprint Medley Relay team of Cole Allen, Nolan Freeman, Jason Gombolensky, and John Tarbett for winning first place at the SWC championships. Also, congratulations to Claire Daniel for her winning first place at the 3,200 meter at the SWCs. The boys and girls indoor tracks teams placed third in the SWC championships, and that was held at the Floyd Athletic Center in New Haven. So congratulations to them. Great job.
The 4x8 also.
All right, thank you. Outstanding. Also, updates with Park and Rec on the playground. The old playground equipment's been removed at Young's Field. The contractor's beginning looking at, once the weather breaks a little bit, to start the footings. And once the weather gets a little warmer, and looking at kind of a late spring, early summer for completion of the playground. Reminder that the budget hearings for the town council starts, and the Board of Finance start on Tuesday, February 25th at 7 p.m. right here. So we're inviting everybody to come, or they can see it as we live stream it or video program it there. So it starts on the 25th. Also, real quick for the senior center, kind of what they've been doing this last week is they had 129 lunches. They also provided 161 rides to our seniors, and there was 155 volunteer hours that were done by volunteers at the senior center. So thank you to Carolyn and her staff, and also the volunteers that help our seniors. For Park and Rec, the maintainers have been bringing in the park benches from around the town, especially at the green. They're cleaning and repainting them and staining them, and then putting them back out as part of their winter maintenance work. They're also continuing garbage and litter cleanup at the parks, as what DPW's been doing on our right-of-ways. If you've noticed, during the rainy parts, when they have rain, they go out and they clean our right-of-ways. Also, softball starts for Park and Rec. That'll be starting soon. And they had their first organizational meeting on the 4th of February. So good luck to all the softball participants. Also, we're working on increasing electrical panels to a 200 amp at Young's Field, which will be happening when we have events down there. There's a need for electricity. They're also going to be replacing the sidewalk that enters the playground at Young's Field as we're doing the new playground itself. That's pretty much what I have as far as the mayor's report. And next.
Our consent agenda, I will move to accept items 4A, prior minutes, and 4B, tax collector.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah.
Sir?
At the very end, it says I left the building, whereas I left the meeting. Just saying. Like, they need the building
That's
too,
all.
but.
Who knows?
Okay. We have a first and a second with the
Typo.
amended typo. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
I'll abstain from the minute.
Okay, thank you, Doug.
Item 5A, motion to approve the appointments and reappointments as listed. That would be Municipal Building Committee, Old Boardman Bridge Committee 2, which is temporary, Recycling Committee, which is temporary, fruit flies, Sewer Commission.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And before we move on, I would like to address the appointment of Councilman Francis to the Ethics Board. I spoke with Randy DeBella after we had our appointment, and I would like to apologize to the town council and the public. It is correct that Ms. Francis holds the position as vice chair, which makes the ethics appointment invalid. Ms. Francis did not go to the town clerk to get put up, sworn in, so I wanted to apologize to the council and apologize to the public, and I will be interviewing for that position. So I just wanted the council to know. Yep.
So,
Yep.
so you can only have one of each party, apparently, right? So there's 3 alternates,
Correct.
so Republican, Democrat, and unaffiliated,
Unaffiliated, Libertarian, Green Party.
right?
Yep.
And just note that I did send a name in for the Democratic.
Yes, you did. And I will be interviewing that candidate.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 6 is move to accept the Patriots Day Committee request to close the crossover to the south across the green on Sunday. They don't have the date here, but it's Sunday, April 19th from 7 a.m. till 3 or is it 4?
It's the application is at 7 to 3.
Yeah, 7 to 3 p.m. For the celebration. There'll be a Wreaths Across America trailer that will be here, educational trailer, while we celebrate Patriots Day.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And item 7 is our pension committee.
Mr. Bill? Walter?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. With me here tonight is our vice chairman, Walter O'Connor. I want to say one thing, and I want to say it from my heart. Privileged to serve as the chairman of this committee with the members that we have that have such vast knowledge. Starting with Frank Wargel, with good business knowledge. George Barnett, great investment knowledge. Walter O'Connor, the same with the right as the vice chairman, chaired the pension at the hospital for many, many years. Ray Jankowski, our former finance director and plan administrator at the time, and myself. And everyone brings a broad knowledge to the committee, and it's gratifying. There's no politics, it's all about numbers and preserving what the town's obligations are. We had a meeting last Friday, and we met with the principal financial, which is the investment advisors. And I handed out tonight copies of the annual actuarial report and a copy of the investment report also for your reading. You can see the investments that the town's made. As we sit here today or tonight, what I call the street value, the market value is $65 million. The actuarial value is trending towards 70. That's the actuarial. But the actual street value, market value, cash in, walk out the door, $65 million. So it's more than doubled in the last 7 to 8 years. I want to also say that the personnel office does a fabulous job in tracking everything. For a lot of decades, as I've seen and I've looked into things forensically, and I've been involved with the personnel department, the bookkeeping, the record keeping, I should say, was not what it is today. You know, back in 1975 or 65, the plan started in 64. Who knows what the documents were? There was a mistake picked up where someone was 5 years part-time before they became full-time. You had to be full-time to be eligible. That 5 years was picked up by the personnel office, not by the library or the Board of Ed. And record keeping is very critical when you're managing the affairs of hundreds of people. And what we do get every year, every July, we get an update of those who are in pay status, those who are employed, and those who are vested but yet not eligible. We get that number every year. And we look through it, and you can see someone started in were eligible in 1978, but the date of hire was 1980. How's that possible? It's typo. So you can see, human beings, we all make mistakes, and you pick up on those typos. But if you let decades go by and no one picks up on it, it's costly. So we're forensically looking into all of that. The committee had a wonderful meeting on Friday with the pension advisors, and very pleased with the outcome of the report. What I gave you here tonight is a lot of reading, and if you have any questions, please get them to the personnel office, then to me, and we'll get those answers for you immediately. There's a lot to digest. Just quickly, if you look at page number 2, the annual contribution this year, which you have to budget for, is just slightly higher. And a lot of the reason causing that is we've moved the discount rate from what was 8%, which was a ridiculous discount rate. That's why the state of Connecticut is in a mess. We tweaked it down to 7.2, with the goal of getting it down under 7 into the 6s over time. Reality, that's called. It's called real.
I'm sorry, when you say discount rate, that's the rate you're projecting it will grow, the investments?
Right, correct, right.
Gotcha.
Rate of return on
Rate of
the
return.
portfolio.
So our net rate of return was just slightly under 6 after investment cost, which is pretty good, but it's not 7.2.
Yeah.
So what it does is it increases your unfunded liability slightly, plus your annual contribution. Plus, you gotta remember, we've had a lot of people retire in the last few years that were high-end income people who had a lot of years of service to the town. And when they retired, that's a big impact to the plan. And on the police side of the equation, a few of them took their full distribution, or contribution, I should say, of 6%, which amounted to nearly $200,000 they took out of the plan asset. So when those things happen over time, they're a big impact. But if you look at page 2, you can see the list, Teamsters all the way down, and this is non-certified. Board of Ed certified is with the state. This is not teachers, everything but. You can see the annual contribution is slightly up. You go to page number 3, tells you a little more detail. And this is at July of 2019 now. That's the fiscal year. The ending fiscal year will be June 30th to July 1st of 2020. You can see the total compensation is $19 million a year. Average compensation. But then you look up at the numbers, active members stayed the same at 405 and 405. Terminated invested went up 3, and those members in pay status went up 10. So that means 10 more people in that span are on pension. And it could be slightly more because a few people came off because unfortunately they passed on in life. Very important to forensically keep track of these numbers. Very, very important. Get to page 5. You can see market value in 2018. And on February 7, 2020, the market value was 65 million. So you can see that growth over that period of time. Page 6. Approximate net rate of return is a little over 5%, which is pretty good rate of return. But when you're banking on 7.2, you're running a little negative. But you're paying out, benefits paid out, $3.8 million. So if you didn't have the asset base of this plan to grow from, you'd be budgeting 3.8. Pay-go system. You pay out 3.8, you got to budget 3.8. So the asset of the plan and the offset of the gain of the plan helps the town. Plus, we're amortizing the unfunded liability. We're not just taking a blind eye to it like the state does. We're amortizing it. We're doing over a 10-year period. Because of its positive direction, we went to a 15-year period amortization. Page number 7, you can see the actuarial value of assets based on Teamsters, AFSCME, police, government library, sewer, Board of Ed, and pre-98 retirees. Go to page 9. The plan has been an evolution since 1964. You can see that the members in pay status, the actuarial, is higher than those that are employed. So a lot of people are retired over the life of this plan. It's gone the other way. Page 12, we're actually at 100% of employer contribution. Page 14, net increase is actuarial. It's 2.9, almost $3 million. That's actuarial. Then if you go to page 10, 15, I'm sorry, you can see the amount of employee change. Active members stayed the same, terminated invested increased 3, retired members increased 10, disabled members stayed the same, and beneficiary deceased members stayed the same. So there's more people retiring that's coming on the plan. Not taking into consideration, like I said a moment ago, those who had passed on. Page 16 will give you the amount of people, active members, those are employed. And you can see it from Teamsters to AFSCME to police to government to library and so forth. And on page 17, you can see terminated investing. You can see the changes. And then page 19, which is something to take a look at, the amount of employee that range between years of service of 20 to 24 to 35 plus. You know, in short time, or eventually, they're going to start to come on the pension roll. If you look at the years of service. If they meet the rule of 84, 85, they're eligible for a pension. So when you see that age span, like if you take 55 to 59, for example, you got 6 people between 20 and 24, 2, 0, and then you got 1 at 35 plus. So you know that individual is going to retire soon. So this is the actuarial report that the committee receives and studies. On top of that, if you look at it very carefully, is those who are getting pension, not only the amount, but I've seen a lot of typos that I've highlighted for personnel to talk to the actuaries about. There's a life, there's a joint life, and then there's a guarantee, 10-year. So in other words, if husband has a pension, it goes to the wife, but they don't live that 10-year period, it goes to a beneficiary within that 10-year period. We get less pension payment every month. It gets reduced. If the husband's the employee and it goes to the wife, he takes a reduction. If they take the 10-year guarantee, it gets reduced even further. But they get that 120-month window guarantee. So some people have chosen one of the three. So it's very important to forensically keep track of all that. The other thing that we're discussing with personnel, and very important, is once you get outside town of Milford and someone unfortunately passes on, you don't know. You got to rely on Social Security Administration. And who knows in Mississippi or Montana how they deal with this. That you're paying an auto deposit of someone's pension and the individual is deceased. So Social Security will come back and redact it out of your account. How do we do that? And if you get a number of people to do that, that's money that's really, how do you get it back? It's lost. So personnel is working very hard to forensically keep track of that. And we've notified the actuaries on, we want to know exactly how they're notified. We had a situation where a police officer unfortunately passed on, disabled, and his wife graciously called the town and let the town know that her husband passed on. What was it? It wasn't a joint life. It was a life annuity, so it doesn't pass on to the spouse. But you can go into the middle of the country and you retire there, and all of a sudden you're deceased, but nobody knows about it for 6 months. The town doesn't know, the actuary doesn't know, and you keep getting a pension check. And the daughter or the son's executive or executrix, and they're in a joint account, survivorship account, and the check keeps going in. I don't think they're going to be rushing to make you a phone call. It can happen. So that's why we're forensically looking at all this stuff. Yeah. And personnel do an exceptional job with that. You have to. You just can't assume. I saw it before in executive status where they kept sending a check and they come back, take it out of the account. They send you a letter, they said we paid for August, September, and October, we're going to come back, take it out, which they did. But in the case of the town, how do you do that? That's the problem. It's serious money. And if you have a small percentage that's getting a check that's past their days on the planet, that's a lot of money that's lost. So we're even going in that direction to look at everything forensically. Walter, would you like to add?
No, I think, just on the rate of return, continuing to decrease that down, given that we have a 50-50 breakdown of the portfolio between fixed assets and equity assets. And when you got a 3+%, 4% corporate bond yield, to get up to 8% or 7% is very difficult. And the returns that we were talking about are net of all our costs. So I think that's very reasonable rate of return that we've got on. I'd like to see another point higher, but I'll take what we've got and send in the right direction.
I make it a habit, I read the Denver News Times faithfully, and anytime there's an article about pensions, I cut it out and make a copy, and I read it. And a lot of it has to do with state pensions and the mess that the state has. And I keep the article because in a lot of cases it's interesting reading and also has some positive aspects of it that help you. What the council, the legislative body, may want to consider in the future. New hires on or after a certain date, maybe a 403B, 457. So there's a contribution not only by the town but by the employee. So if they leave after 3-4 years, they don't have vesting, but they walk away with something. Then eventually, over time, which takes negotiation, that'll be townwide. I mean, that's the governmental trend throughout the country. is to go in that direction. So I'd be happy to provide you with the detail on that, so you consider that in the future. And,
When you say future, you think this is something we should look at sooner rather than later?
Yes, yeah.
The near future.
The near future, yes. Because,
Within our lifespans.
yeah,
And I'm in my 70s, so we want to go in the future. We're close.
everybody teases me, I tease everybody, they say, well, geez, how old are you? I said, I'm 36 and a half times the cube root of 8. And they walk away saying, what did he say? I love numbers.
What are we vested right now?
Pardon?
What's our vesting, compared, like how much do we have the unfunded mandate portion?
Oh, about 14 million unfunded.
What percentage is that?
Oh, we're at low 80s.
So close to what the state is.
Oh, we're a lot better than state. Yeah.
State's a little lower than.
Yeah, Mike, they're 100 billion unfunded liability. Never gonna get out of it.
No, that's why taxes and people.
Yeah, never gonna get out of it. But the town, fortunately, the plan is strong, the investment strategy is strong, but, in the near future, we take a look at maybe hires on or after a certain date, so that if you leave after 3-4 years, you still had some sort of a pension payment that you could, hybrid into a 401k with a company. So, and then over time, that'll take the pressure off the town. Because we've had, great employees that have stayed 30, 35, 40 years, more than half a lifetime in some cases. So, they dedicated a good portion of all of their working life to the town. So there's something there at the end of the rainbow. We want to make sure you can afford the rainbow, and it doesn't turn different colors on us, But the plan is strong, puts the town in a good financial position. And not having to pay the full amount that you pay out in benefits because of the plan asset strategy takes a lot of pressure off the annual contribution and the taxpayer.
You guys do a great job, thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Pillow, to you and the committee for a stellar job.
Thank you.
And Chris?
Yes, I'd like to echo the thanks to the committee, and I can't think of two better people to be trusted with digging into these numbers and making sure we're doing the right things. So thank you for your work. Other than looking at eligibility moving forward and forensically going back and making sure our records are right, anything else we can be doing to do a better job? And I like bringing the rate of return back down to a reasonable level. I think
The reality,
we're kidding ourselves at 7%.
Well, it started at
And 50-50.
Yeah, it was an annuity plan in 1964, and it was a one plan for everybody. And back then you didn't have the unions negotiating different, and you can't blame people for wanting more. But it was a one plan for everybody. It was an annuity plan. And John Hancock had 8% at that time. They started with rate of return. And that's not realistic, but that's what it started at. But what happened is, you go back to 1964, when it was basically all just general government. That's all it was. You didn't have all these different facets of employee base you have today. It was a lot simpler. And in 2010, when I was on the committee at that time also, John Hancock did not want to take on the legalese or any of the actuarial. They just wanted to do the investment side of the equation. And I said, well, why? The committee moved immediately to interview other pension investment people, and we spent days. We interviewed like 12 different firms, and we chose Pension and Angel Pension and Principal Financial. Because when you tell me that you don't want to do those things, you just want to do the investment side of the equation, it begs the question, why? So I think they didn't want the liability, I would say, but it moved in the right direction. But things change over the decades. But we're finding out, through the efforts of personnel, we're finding a lot of inconsistencies, I want to say, that evolved from many decades ago. Who knew in 1970 or 75, you didn't have a personnel office. You had a first selectman that just hired you, and that was the end of it. So who knew what the record keeping was then? What it is today? Today it's It's immense. Any further questions?
Katie?
Yes, I have a question. So the situation of not knowing where a retiree is and et cetera, in your work on this, have you, other towns, I don't like to recreate something that's already been done, is there some way, or maybe Greg knows, that the people who are retired need to return or contact you to make sure the bank has to know where to send the money, or the institution that's sending out the money. Has it happened to us? We've had people collect on past death?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
so we have not come across any instances where someone has been continuing to collect. So Principal Financial is actually contracted. There's a software through the Social Security Administration. So when Social Security ends, that's how Principal Financial gets notified as well. So we actually have communication when we initiate the pensions that when something does happen, the family is to contact the town. We also have Principal's way of going through Social Security Administration, but oftentimes we will hear from the families when the member has passed away.
Because Social Security is pretty good.
Yes.
They don't like to
Right.
send the check after you're gone.
But if someone passes
They take it
on,
back.
if someone passes on before Social Security age,
Yeah,
Social Security is not in the equation anymore.
right,
God forbid, you get a police officer retires at 58.
right.
He's got his 25 and out, or 30, and he moves to Colorado.
I just wondered if
No,
there,
it's not
if
on
you heard
Social Security.
from either, Angel or this other outfit, if there is a common way that people are kept track of, so to speak.
Well, we did a conference call with them, and the ladies on the phone, very helpful. They had asked us to look at, obituaries. What obituary are going to look at in Arkansas or Kansas?
Well, right, exactly.
That's really their.
It just seems in this day and age of being able to find anything about anybody that there'd be somebody who'd come up with a business to do this.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Part of the problem, Katie, and something we are suggesting, is each town has a different person handling all their
Oh,
requests.
sure.
And that, to try to come together with a common thing, the reporting lines are a little bit
Right.
different. And plus, we're also talking fraudulent behavior. Sometimes it's an oversight, but other times it's criminal behavior.
Sure.
And that's a whole other different issue of trying to pick it
And
up.
if you were to find that, if it were to occur in, say, 6, 7 months, a year, or whatever, is there recourse to collect that funds, which Social Security does, I know that.
Right, and through Principal, and that was one of the questions we asked, is yes, they will automatically pull that money back from an account if the account is still active. If it is not active, they will go after the families to attempt to get that money, but it is not it's not foolproof, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's principal's responsibility to do that, not
That is correct.
the towns, but
Right.
Yeah,
notification.
good.
Dave, you have?
I will be.
Walter?
I'm not trying to be a cheerleader here. I certainly was never accused of being a math major. I taught history for 38 years.
I went to college on a math scholarship.
Thomas, you and your committee,
Thank
what an asset to this
Thank you,
community.
thank you.
And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Walter.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Jane?
Do we pay health benefits to retirees?
Only the police
Only
officers that have been hired before July 1st of 2018. That benefit has been sunset.
And Board of Ed,
How
non-certified?
much does that account
don't-
for, like,
no.
what is
Don't know on the Board of Ed side. I think there's a certain portion of retired teachers that do.
That are
But I believe that's close. as well.
non-Medicare eligible.
Right.
so what does that account for, like, what percentage does that account for?
What do you mean?
The health benefits that we have to pay out?
Well, that's on the health side of the equation, outside the pension, but the police negotiated years back that they pay what is called a COBRA. So if a single or married with a family, there's a COBRA value. And in the early stages, they only pay 10% of that COBRA. So let's say the COBRA value for a husband and wife is $18,000. They don't pay $1,800 a year to get health insurance until they're Medicare age. They negotiated that. That's huge.
So what does that cost us?
A lot.
Town-wide, do you have a figure for
I
that?
can get that from Greg Hospital for sure.
Very
It's a
good.
good
If you look
question.
at the last audit report, there's a section in there on the liability of that projection, I believe, correct, right?
There is, and Greg Hospital will have that for you. We can get that for you.
Okay.
Yeah. And I believe we paid
on a yearly basis, that's got as part of the budget line.
There's an OPEB trust that was put together. I believe that there's $1 million in the OPEB trust right now, but I don't want to give specific numbers without looking at it and researching it.
Yeah, the OPEB trust was formed to where the pension committee are the members of the trust. Town attorney Brady DeBella did that for us. To get people to serve on an OPEB trust, you gotta understand it first. And it's, but the idea came up at the time to satisfy the auditors was to have the pension committee members become members of the OPEB trust. So we changed the ordinance creating the pension committee to allow for that. And over the years, through your budget, you've been appropriating a certain amount of money to put into that trust. Even though they're on the town-wide insurance, it satisfied the auditors. With the insurance change now, there may be some change in the unfunded liability that you see in your actuarial report to town, your auditor's report, where they have two forms of OPEB. One is the OPEB trust, which is the police, and the other OPEB is the retired teachers. I think that's being handled totally different now. So the OPEB trust liability that's in the actuarial, in the town's report, it's probably a lot less than what it was. And maybe David, you could add to that on with the teachers on retirement. They don't pay into the insurance.
No.
So that's changing the liability
But
on.
they don't get the health insurance.
They don't get it.
Until 65.
Right.
Since 1988, all teachers are paying into Medicare. So teachers that were retired before 1988 or were hired before 1988, excuse me, are still eligible for this type of a benefit. But that's a declining number since 1988. Everybody's been paying into Medicare, and we don't intend to have a liability for them going forward.
If you look at the aggregate cost of the medical and even the pension ARC, and you take that as a percentage of your budget, and even as a percentage, which I do, my figures of the amount to be raised in taxation, because there's really no offset to those two items to speak of. There's no ECS formula, there's no anything. So they're kind of dead red expenses. So if you take that as a percentage of the $103 million budget, that's a big number. If you take it as a percentage of the amount to be raised in taxation, it's even larger. It jumps high. And those are two big numbers you got to deal with on your budgets. They're massive. And back in the 90s, early 90s, medical was a fraction of what it is today. It's just more. And what personnel, we're looking at also anything on the pension that may be fraudulent is also on the medical. So if a husband and wife was on the plan, the husband leaves, or the husband's on the plan, the wife, they get divorced rather, and he still has her name on it. And you don't know about it for a while. And he pulls what I call the oops doctrine. So I forgot. Well, there's a way of recouping those dollars. And I asked the town attorney, and very nicely prepared it where it's going to be on the form that you sign when you become an employee, that negligibility would also include taking your pension until that payment is paid. So you're affecting your pension. So you're going to think twice about fraudulently signing something that you have a spouse that now you're divorced. So it's very important to have that. Because I know someone in New Canaan Police Department had his wife on his employee, but they were divorced. She was on her own insurance, but he just left her name on there. He got fired, even though she had her own insurance. So each town treats things differently. But I think here, if you're fraudulently using the town's insurance and it's noticed, then the town has a right not only to go after you for those funds, including but not limited to taking any pension asset you may have, to pay for that. I think it's time for that. Given the fraudulent is not right to start with, but given the expensive insurance, it's a big thing.
One of the things we do for that, by the way, is we have employees all certify on an annual basis their eligibility and making sure that all dependents are in fact eligible.
Doug?
I'd like to commend both of you guys.
Thank you.
Tommy, you're phenomenal with numbers. And just doing quick math there, we have 247 people over the age of 50 that are on here. That's 62%. So in a 15-year range, you're going to have those people retire.
Yeah.
And it's going to get tougher and tougher.
Yeah.
And people are living longer. So,
Well, that's a good thing, but
Yeah,
it's gonna get
It's
tougher.
good to deliver a little bit, it's gonna cost.
Yeah, we had some,
But it also comes at an expense as well, so. we have
Yeah, it
to figure
does.
that out.
you know, we've had some people dedicate over 40 years of their life to the town. And, you know, retire with more pension that they were getting paid.
Yeah.
We're very grateful that we have people like you
Thank you.
helping out the town do this, because it's not an easy chore.
And-
It can be
and
very
I get-
expensive if we had to source it out.
And the committee, again, I'm repeating myself, and a lot of broad knowledge on one committee. A lot of broad knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bill. Thank you to the committee. Stellar job. Thank you.
Very much.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, a motion to adjourn, sir.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just real quick, the tax deferral and the sewer, is that gonna come before us?
Yep.
soon? 'Cause I don't wanna wait too long with the construction season getting close.
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.